Hello everyone, I'm Leo G, and today I'm going to be addressing the issue of layer shifting with the Ender 3 V2. So many people have been having this issue, including me, and I'll show you. This is a print that I did a while ago, and I'm using a 2x4 for reference. You can see that it is clearly not straight, and so the layers are shifting. And so it turns out that the reason that this is happening is because on their 4.2.2 motherboard, the VREF voltages are too high, which is causing the stepper drivers to overheat and skip layers. So I know a lot of people have been trying to use various methods, such as like cutting the bottom of their printer out and putting a whole bunch of fans, or like or trying to adjust the voltages using the screwdriver. But that's only a temporary fix. So the real fix is to upgrade to their new 4.2.7 motherboard. And so after contacting my seller, they agreed to send me the new motherboard and fan. So today I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of how to replace the motherboard, and hopefully that'll solve the issue. Okay, so I've got the 4.2.7 motherboard right here. And so they sent that to me. And in the package, they also sent a new motherboard fan. And so I may not need it. We'll see if I decide to change it or not, but we'll see. And so something important to note is that connectors that look like this, or they may be bigger and fit into these slots here, you can see that they have a small lip on them. And so that lip is where you want to grab it from when you're pulling it out. And you also want to press it in from the side. So you can get your nails around the lip and pull it out from there. Because if you pull it out holding the cords like this, then it can break the connector and the wires will come out. And those are very difficult to fix. So, also, the tools. So I've got the screwdriver here, and this came with the printer, and so did these Allen keys. Mainly, we will be using this Allen key. So the second smallest. And finally, I've got needle nose pliers, because I know on some of the Ender 3s, depending on which model you get, I believe they use hot glue to secure the connectors, and you may need to pull that off. So let's get started. So to begin, we're going to unplug the power. That's important because you don't want any short circuits or anything else like that. You want to keep it safe. Next, we're going to slide this out of the slot. So slide it up and bring it out. And this is the display. And you want to unplug it from the back, holding the connector from the side rather than from the wires. And we're taking this off because, and just set that aside. The next thing we're going to do is we're using 2x4s to prop it up on its side. So that's why I took off the display, is because you can't balance it on the 2x4s that way. So I'm going to get these ready and pick up the printer. Being very careful when you pick it up. Gotta figure out the best way to hold it. Hold on. There we go. Okay. And turn it on its side. And so that it rests, hold on the 2x4. So I've got the extrusions, one on the bottom and one up here. I'm going to prop one, it's going to come around here, and I'm going to prop one under here as well, so that it's securely on the 2x4s. So here, got it resting, and now I've got it on its side. I'm going to open up the motherboard. So as you can see, resting it on the 2x4s makes it so that the belt tensioner and the part that holds the display back here, I'll just show you, it makes it so that they don't touch the table, and that makes it so that they don't get broken. And so after you've got it balanced, then what you want to do is move the bed back so that you can access the screw here, And this one, it's quite tight, so you might want to use the shorter section of your Allen key. And this is the second smallest Allen key again, but you're going to use the shorter section to get more leverage. And once you get it undone, then you have to just unscrew it, and the screw is pretty small, so set that aside for later. And next, we're going to go on to the other side and undo the 3 screws on the bottom where the motherboard is. So again, that's tight, so you use the smaller section to get them loose and undo them. There we go, thank you. And same with the others. Go. And third one. And right now the motherboard cover is going to come off, as you can see. Okay, and this one is longer than the others, the back screw, so it's important to keep track that when you put the screws back, the longer one is at the back. So I'm holding the cover on right now, but when I take it off, okay, it's longer on this side, so take it out. And so here it is, and this is the motherboard fan. And the first thing that you want to do is detach the motherboard fan connector. So if it's, some of these are tough, so you can use your needle nose pliers to just wiggle it loose very gently. And remove the fan connector so that you can set the motherboard cover aside. Okay, so I've grabbed the wire cutters that came with the printer, and the reason for that is to take off the hot glue on all of the connectors here. They put that in the factory, and so it's easier just to remove it before you try to take out the connectors. So here we go. This takes a second, but you just grab it and pull it off, and it'll save some time later. Okay, that should be good. The glue was actually quite difficult to remove, but I've got it off now, so be aware of that, and you can use your pliers. But the next part is going to be to take out the connectors. So to do that, you can grab, I found that it's quite difficult with your fingers, so grab the outsides of the connector, the plastic part, with the pliers, and wiggle it loosely back and forth, slowly until it comes out. So there, so it came out. I'm gonna do it again here, repeat the process. And so we're doing these on the X, Y, Z, and E connectors. They're all labeled. So loosely back and forth, and just wiggle it. Make sure all of the glue is off before you try this, or else it's quite difficult. And so pulling gently. Oh, that didn't come out. Almost. There we go. And the last one. Alright, like this. So you don't want to break the connectors, so you got to be very gentle with it. So there they are. As you can see, they're all labeled, so it'll be easier with these ones to get the right place when you're putting them back. But for some of the other ones, you might want to take a photo before, and then you can see. The next step is to remove the lower connectors. And so there is a line of hot glue underneath of them. And the way to remove that is that since it's a line, you can just start underneath, and you can use your pliers under here and just pick at it to start removing it. And then a little trick is to take an alcohol wipe, and what you do is you just roll it up and fold it in half, grab it with your pliers, And now, if you can put the alcohol wipe, use your pliers and get it in under the lip of hot glue, then you can just slowly wiggle it back and forth, and the hot glue will start to just peel off because of the alcohol. And so that made it much easier to remove. And so I'm going to show you. These ones you can't easily grab on the side compared to the other ones. You can't grab them with the pliers. So you're going to have to use your fingers and just grab them on the top. So it's a little difficult to see in the camera, but similar to before, you're going to grab on the top and on the bottom and just wiggle it back and forth slowly, and they come out. So then the next one, same thing, you might just want to move the wire out of the way a bit so you can grab it. Whoops. And just wiggle it out. You can also put a finger here because there's no screws holding it in on the bottom, so you don't want to damage the motherboard. And so just wiggle it out. Here now I've got it enough that I can grab it on the top and bottom with my pliers, and actually, yeah, grab it on the top and bottom. Just wiggle it out, there we go. And same with this, hold your finger so it doesn't bend, and just gently, there we go. And also I'm going to show you, so it's important to know that the one with the white wires is on the far right, and other than that, the 3 on the left are also labeled, so you can see the label there, and this one's not labeled, so you should just know white with no label on the right, then the next one is black with no label, and the next ones are labeled here, and then also on the circuit board you can see the label right there. So right now I'm going to take out this one. So don't grab too close to the part where it's plugged into, or you could accidentally pull that out as well. So you want to make sure you're grabbing just the connector. And also don't rush it, because it's better to take a little bit of time and make sure you don't break it than to accidentally break it trying to take it out too quickly. So this one, since it's the last one, I can grab it by the sides, which is the better way, and just gently wiggle it out. I'm also going to take the one above out right now with the blue and the yellow wire, and also just hold it in, gently wiggle it out. There it is. I'm also going to take out this one, which is for the display. So this one's a bit bigger, it's easier to grab, I'll show you. Except you've also just have to wiggle it out, and it's being a bit difficult. Try with the pliers. Very gently, back and forth, and feel it. There it is. Oh, looks like there was some hot glue on the bottom of that one. You can see underneath it there that there was some glue, so I'm gonna have to peel that off. The next step is the most difficult, and that is removing and replacing the wires that fit in the green slots here, as well as the 2 power ones on the side. And so I'm gonna write them out for you to show, but first, so as you can see underneath there is a thin red wire, then a thin black wire, then a thicker red wire, and a thicker one that's kind of red but you can see some black on it. And then underneath, very difficult to see, there's 2, you can actually see they come in from here. They're red wires, they both look the same, and they've got a woven pattern on them. And so I'm going to write that here so that you can see. And so we've got this, and on the side there's a positive, which is red, and a negative, which is black. And then there's 6 on here, so And so it's a red one, and then a black one, and then a thicker red one, and a thicker black one, and finally 2 reds. And I'm just gonna make a note, these are woven. Okay, these are thicker, and these are thinner. So it's important to keep track, or else you may wire it wrong, which is not very good. And then these are power. To distinguish between the 2 red woven wires, I'm going to start by adding a dot above here so I know. And if you noticed that in the series of thin, thick, and woven, all of the ones on the left are red. So I'm going to leave the left woven one, I'm just going to keep it red. And the right one, I've added a dot to remind me that up here, I'm going to take the Sharpie and I'm going to mark the wire, the right wire, so that we can distinguish between them. So I just reach it in there and make sure you can see it, and there it is. Okay, so I've marked it down. You can see right in there that it's got a little mark on it, and now I'll be able to distinguish when I replace them. To take out the wires on the green connectors on the other one and replace them on the new motherboard, I'm going to start with the new motherboard, and I'm going to turn all the screws in the green connectors counterclockwise, and I've done one of them for you here to show you. You might be able to see. I'll bring it up slightly. It opens up a little box inside, a little slot, where then we're going to put the wire inside and tighten the screw clockwise to hold the wire. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of them. Just loosen them so that the wires are ready. And there we go. And now the power connectors. These are a little bit larger, and so you can see in there the little slot that's opened up. And so the last one. There we go. Okay. So now that I've gotten all the green connectors unscrewed on the new motherboard, I'm going to begin removing the wires from the version 4.2.2 motherboard. And so it's difficult because lots of the wires are in the way, but I'm going to start on the right and just gently unscrew it. You can move the wires out of the way with your fingers. Just unscrew it. Here I'm going to lift up the wires and go in underneath. Let's see. There we go. And this one. Okay, and the 2 power connectors, which here I'm gonna have to go between the wires. Make sure they're fully loosened. There we go. Now I'm gonna remove these wires from these connectors on the other motherboard. And to do that, it's easy. You just push down, and you can see these 2 have come out. There, these 2 and the last 2. So now they're all out. I've saved the power wires because I'm going to undo the motherboard first so that they'll be easier to take out. So there are 3 screws to unscrew the motherboard. One here between the X and Y connectors. We can just undo those here. Save the screws, and there's another one right here, and do that. There it is. Okay, and there's one screw a little bit hidden above the heat sink right here. And unscrew it and take it out carefully. There's one more screw, and that is right here on the left hand side. Oh, be careful not to drop that screw. Now the motherboard is loose, so just pull it out this way, and at the same time the power cords will just come out there. And now finally we're going to replace the 4.2.2 motherboard with the new 4.2.7 motherboard. So since we've got everything else out, we can start. I'm just going to move the display cord out of the way, just tuck it between the two wires here, and then we're gonna start with the power cords. We're just gonna do everything in the same order that we took it out. So the power cords, as you can see, it's labeled positive on the top, negative on the bottom, and positive is red. So we're going to insert the two power cords into the slots on the side of the motherboard, just like this. Make sure they're in, and you can go ahead, tighten the screws. Make sure they're tight. Next, according to my diagram, we've got to put the thin red wire on the far left, and then the thin black wire. And so, here they are. I'm just going to insert them into the bottom. I'm going to do them one at a time. So, thin red wire, just like this. Then, thin black wire. They can be a bit difficult to grab, so make sure that they're still going properly into these slots. But, oh. And once, I'm just going to tighten it partially so that it'll stay in better. And use my other hand. Make sure it's grabbing only the metal part on the end of the wire and not the insulation on the wire. Okay, next I'm going to do the thick red wire. So just hold that in with one of your fingers and tighten it down. Okay, the thick black wire. It's kind of red and black. Okay, and now for the ones that we've marked. You can see here is the mark indicating that this one goes on the right, because I said black on the right, left is red. And so I'm going to put the red woven wire on the left and the woven wire that I've marked on the right. Just like that. Okay, and so hold them in and tighten them down. And now, just before we screw in the motherboard, to make sure, just go back through, make sure they're all tight. Check them all, because these are important. And look, make sure they're all connected properly. And once you're convinced that they are connected properly, everything looks good, then move the wires here out of the way. Bring the display wire back, and now we're going to screw it back into the printer. So to screw this back into the printer, you're gonna want to push the motherboard in and make sure it lines up with the holes. And also you want to make sure that the ports here line up with the holes on the right, which means you want to put those in first until this one, the USB port, is in the metal hole. And then push it back. Also lift the wires up on the bottom to fit in. And make sure that the larger cord here is slotted into the hole in the extrusion there. Line it up with the holes, and we're going to begin screwing them in. So I'm going to start with this one up here, and so grab your Allen key, put the screw on the end, and make sure that it goes into the hole. And I'm not going to tighten it fully yet because I'm going to make sure that all of them are in before it's tightened. So I'm going to get the second one now. The third one, I'm going to do the one in the middle right here. So just move the wires out of the way a little bit. And finally, I'm going to put in the fourth screw. So just get it into the hole, get it started. There we go. So this one is not going in as well. So I'm going to loosen the other ones a little bit. And you can see the motherboard move down a bit because there's this part right here that kind of gets in the way. So I'm going to push it down and make sure that this one can screw all the way down to the board instead of on top of the other component. That's why we didn't tighten them all fully before, just to make sure that they'll all work. Now just retighten all the rest of them, just like that. Back. And there we go. And now I'm going to begin plugging in all of the other connectors. And so I'm going to begin with the connectors that are plugged under the other wires, and then we'll move into the others. So this one, the blue and yellow connector, goes in the top slot right here. Push it in from the side, make sure it's in. Okay, so you can see the top slot. Okay, then the display cord, I'm gonna put under all the other wires. Move the wires out of the way. And plug it in here, just like that. Press it in, make sure it's in. Then, next, I'm gonna plug in the Y connector, which goes, it's labeled Y on the motherboard here. Okay, push it in, make sure it's in, and I'm going to continue with the other ones. Just like this. Okay. And let's continue. Oh, I just realized this is important. The Z connector, I'm actually gonna grab it on the top and bottom with the pliers and gently take it out. It has to be behind these connectors. So I can just plug that back in. Okay, and the black connector is kind of hidden back there. It goes on the left here. And by the way, it's important that if you're not sure, refer back to the photo that you took in the beginning. If you took a photo, so you remember where everything goes. Finally, the white one. Tuck that behind there. Make sure it won't interfere. Okay. Then I'm going to put the Z stepper connector in underneath these. It's labeled right there. Okay, and then I'm going to put the X connector, the Y connector, and the E connector. Now it's time to reinstall the fan and cover. So I'm going to take the fan connector and plug it in underneath the blue and yellow cord. So I'll show you here. It just goes in like that. Push it in. Okay. Then I'm just going to do one more check. Make sure everything is pushed in, properly connected, and lift up the wires here and put the bottom, and then just make sure everything fits and align the cover with the holes. And now I'm going to start with the long screw in the back. You can grab your Allen key and screw it in. And similar to the motherboard, I'm not going to tighten them all completely until I'm sure that everything lines up. So then I'm going to do the top screw. And the lower screw. And now the screw on top. Okay. And then I'm going to connect the display in like this. And so on the back, just plug it in. And attach it on here. And there we go. After plugging the power cord into the back of the printer and making sure that all the screws holding the motherboard cover were on tightly, I'm gonna plug it in here into the wall and turn it on, make sure that everything works. So that's a good sign. We hear the fan and you can see the screen here. And so we're gonna have to test everything now. And as I am an English speaker, I'm gonna set the language back to English. So you're gonna wanna go to the top right screen, scroll all the way to the bottom and click. And now it's changed to English. So we can check through all the menus. Okay, we've got that. I don't have my SD card in right now, but that's the print menu. Okay, we've got everything here. And there you can also see your firmware version. And now I'm going to auto home and make sure that everything works. So if your printer goes and everything moves and auto homes, then you have connected everything correctly, and congratulations. So let's just see here. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so auto home worked, and you can also preheat it to make sure that everything else works. So now we can see that it's beginning to preheat. We can hear the fan, and so everything works. You can try out a print, and congratulations. great job, and I hope this worked for you. So please subscribe, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and comment for any other videos. See you next time. Thank you. As you can see, after changing out the motherboard, I actually went and reprinted the piece that I showed you here with the layer shifting at the start of the video. And it's about a 35-hour print, so if there was any overheating, then it would definitely show up in here. And so as you can see, I've got a meter stick here, and the layer shifting here is significant, but here it's perfectly straight. And actually something I didn't realize from before is when you measure the piece with the 4.2.2 motherboard, it was supposed to be 22 centimeters tall, but it's actually about 21.5. And when you measure the one that I reprinted, it is exactly 22. So there was actually a problem there as well. But as you can see, everything is resolved, and it is fixed. Also, when I put the meter stick here, so there you can see that height difference because it gets caught on that. So again, that's the layer shifted piece and the reprinted piece on the right. Very smooth and printed well.